Good afternoon, everyone. Great to be back in Middleborough once again for another awesome Topic Time episode interview. Got a lovely guest here with me tonight, and summer's winding down, final week of August. We'll talk about that with her if she wants to, but basically we're going to profile her specifically. But before we get to that, we got to read these incredible underwriters, and then we will start the show officially. We got some new ones right here in town. We got Gregory Scott Jewelers right here in Middleborough. We got Matt's Auto Repair and Service in Kingston. We got Middleborough Barbering Company. Where else? Right here in Middleborough. We got Appazita's Family Restaurant, also here in Middleborough. Another new one. We got Gas Depot and Service right around the corner here in Middleborough. We got Countertop Specialists, the countertop guys in Pembroke. We got the Gun Runner LLC in Middleborough. We got Madigan Land Surveying in Middleborough. We got good old Dave's Automotive in Hanson on Route 58. We got Your Son Professional Detailing and Hand Wash in Abington. We got Kingston Auto Body in Kingston, and we got Fiesta Chara Family Mexican Restaurant in Carver, and I want to thank you guys very much. And on that note, feast your eyes upon this lovely lady here. This is Sheena Giordano. She is a fitness trainer, and I believe she's just was written up in a magazine or profiled in a magazine, and I believe, looking at her now, I'd say she may have a modeling career ahead of her, and usually people her age have already started it, but she's starting a little later, but you wouldn't know it by knowing her actual age, which I didn't know until I read her date of birth on Facebook, and I have to admit I was impressed. So Sheena, thank you for coming in and being on my show tonight.
Thank you for having me. It's a pleasure. It's definitely an opportunity, and I'm looking forward to the next hour.
Yeah, well, just a half hour.
Okay.
But that's okay. We'll make the most of it. I promise you that. Okay. Well, you told me some interesting things about yourself even before we got started, and based on that, what I want you to do is what I usually do with all my guests is I try to find out what they were like as young children, and how it got them to where they're at now.
Sure.
So what were you like as a little girl, and you mentioned another profession you were in. If you can bring that up too. But
sure.
How would you say what you did as a child might relate to what you're doing now? And just let me know if I have any questions.
So as a child, I come from a big family.
Okay.
Big Italian family, and so with that being said, sometimes you feel like you almost get lost in the shuffle. So I always felt like sort of a loner, and what I mean by that is, next to my female cousins, for example, who were like princesses and loved dolls and loved like glitter and fun stuff like that, I was always sort of the tomboy. So
okay.
I was always sort of the one that wanted to go outdoors and play, baseball, play tag, play basketball.
Play with the boys?
Yeah, play with the guys. I felt like I was one of the guys,
Right.
I always wore like my backwards baseball cap. So
like
with
Lucy.
Yeah.
Charlie Brown, I got it.
Yep. So with all that being said, for me, and I feel like this applies to so many young females, my preteen years were a very pivotal time for me. I went through that awkward sort of like chubby phase, sort of like you don't feel that great in your skin. So at that point in time, I would, beg my parents for any teenage fitness book I could get my hands on.
All right, hold up a second. Now, this brings to mind a question. Did you feel that you wanted to be fitter than you were? Is that what was going on? Now, remember, sometimes a girl, this happens with guys, but girls too, they become anorexic if they feel that they're...
So I actually did.
Yeah, okay.
I became anorexic at probably the age of 12.
Wow.
That led to bulimia. And
wow.
let me just say that there's so much that comes with that, and there's so much that later down the line I would then excavate and figure out a lot about myself.
Okay.
And the reasons that I did that. But there was just one day I remember, I came home from school, I just stuffed my face with whatever I could find, and I remember getting into the bathroom, and I didn't even have an option at that point. I had eaten so much that I had to throw up.
Yeah.
And so I'm looking at myself in the mirror, and I just remember thinking, like, who am I? Like, who have I become? Like, I don't feel good about myself. I had body dysmorphia, definitely. So at that point... Now I heard someone on Facebook, one of my Facebook friends said she had that. Is that where you feel your body is just so inadequate that you want to get rid of it or change it? It's basically your own self-image is very warped.
Yeah, I see.
So no matter what anybody tells you, no matter what anybody, the positive things they might say to you, your image is just warped. And that comes from a lot of different reasons. A lot of it is internal for sure. But then there are external factors. Like I was bullied in middle school.
Yeah, me too.
I would have people call me, fat and, stupid and
me
whatever.
Me too, I was heavy.
And so
Yeah.
that sticks with you. And not only that, when you're already dealing with like some form of emotional trauma from your childhood, which I did, my childhood was very erratic.
Yeah.
Like it was crazy.
Okay.
Again, I think we talked about it earlier, like most people do come from some sort of dysfunction. And it just gets to a point where, you know, for me, I didn't have the proper supports as a young teen to really understand anything that was going on.
Okay.
And part of that was, you know, my parents were young parents. They both were suffering from their own addictions.
Yeah.
And so they were kind of absent parents in a way. And they just didn't have the tools. So for a long time, I was sort of like relying on myself to understand a lot about the world.
Okay.
And that never works as a kid.
Right.
Because you start to paint certain stories about yourself, how the world works, and you sort of close yourself off to different perspectives. And so going back to being at that young primitive age, even at that young age, I knew there was something deeply inside of me that just didn't feel right. I knew that what I was doing was something that was unhealthy, and I knew that ultimately that if I continued down that path, it wasn't going to lead to great places. So I took it upon myself to ask my parents for a gym membership. They said on 2 conditions. I paid for it out of my chore money.
Tour money?
Chore money. Chores.
What's that? What money?
Like doing chores around the house.
Chore money.
Yeah.
Gotcha. It's like, okay.
Because I was still too young to
All
have
right,
a
so
job.
basically they were paying you to do chores. All right, I got it.
So
Cool.
I would pay for it myself, and I would find my own way to get there. So
Okay.
I committed to both, and I would literally come home from school, and instead of going through that cycle of like binge eating, going in the bathroom, purging, and crying over it, right? And my family didn't even know this was going on.
Okay, wow.
To this day, I'm not sure that my parents know. My sister, I told her later in life when I started opening up more about who I was and certain things that I had gone through. But it is a disease of the mind. Like a lot of this stuff stems from our own self-image and
Right.
our own self-worth.
Okay.
And so these are things that over the last few years, and we can get to that in a few, I have started actively working on. And I think it's important for, you know, especially preteens to have that sort of outlet. And so every day, instead of going through that cycle, I would come home, you know, I might grab a snack or something before I left, and then I would walk to the gym.
So usually a healthy snack, or was it something? I mean,
It depended on the day. At
Right.
that point, I was so young still that I didn't know a ton about nutrition and what
right.
holistic
But you obviously
nutrition
wanted to
looked
learn
like.
about it, and plus,
Absolutely.
my hunch is that at that time you were already making the transition the good one, because you can't go to the gym and work out unless you have, you know, some proper nutrition, something in your belly to
Yeah,
you know,
absolutely.
make,
So
to burn.
it is all full circle. Like food
Right.
is fuel for your body.
Exactly.
It is fuel for your body. And I tell people all the time, you don't expect a car to go 20 miles and only put 10 miles of gas in the car.
That's correct.
It doesn't work that way.
It doesn't.
So when it comes to workouts, to get the most effective workout, to make sure that your body is fueled properly, you have to eat wholesome, nutritious foods, and it has to be well balanced.
Yep.
And there's even a lot of things in regards to that. Like I could spend all day talking about that.
A quick question: are you a nutritionist too now?
I am not.
Okay.
I am not, but I do offer nutrition counseling to my clients.
Okay.
So I do have a background. I've taken courses in nutrition, but I am not a certified
Okay, I got you.
nutritionist.
Cool. All right. So at this point you signed up for a gym membership.
Yep.
Was it Planet Fitness?
It was Gold's Gym
Gold's.
in Everett.
Okay.
Good old Gold's. And
It's all gold.
I was going to say, at this point, like, I had no clue what I was doing. I would go there and people watch. What is that guy doing over there? What is he doing with that cable machine? What is that lady doing on the, you know, the bench? And I would sort of just mimic people.
Okay, so basically you wanted to teach yourself to train yourself.
Yeah.
I got it.
Absolutely.
Okay.
And I was also the type, because again, coming from a family that I didn't necessarily have the support system in place, I was self-taught in so many ways.
Right.
And this was good and bad. It was good in the sense that I've learned so much about who I am. I've learned how to ask for help, which in the past I was never able to do, because I'm like, nope, it's just me. I'm independent. I'm an independent female. I can handle this.
Okay.
But meanwhile, internally, I was struggling.
Of course.
So, you know, I learned a lot about myself. Now, the bad side of it was, there was a lot of trial and error that had to come with that.
Absolutely.
So a lot of this stuff didn't happen necessarily naturally in the beginning. It's time, it's effort, it's consistency. And these are the same things that I now am able to preach to my clients, because I've been there, I've experienced it. I know what it's like to not feel good in your own skin, and I know what it's like to then feel the complete opposite of that, convicted with who you are.
That's awesome.
And confident in who you are.
That is so cool. And obviously you You obviously, I'm just wondering, as I told you before, I have autism, and I'm doing the show here, and it's pretty awesome because as a kid, I didn't get much respect growing up either. And I was often, people thought that I was mentally challenged a lot.
Yep.
Okay, this was the perception I gave much to the world. But at the same time, I had an inner perception of things that most people didn't have because they don't focus on things the way I do. So I'm wondering if there's any common ground with that you can relate to.
Absolutely. So
Okay.
as an adult, part of my own personal growth has come through therapy, individual and group.
Okay.
And so I've been diagnosed.
Psychotherapy?
Yes.
Okay.
I've been diagnosed with ADHD.
Yep.
At
It's the opposite of what I have. But,
Yep.
but still, it's
Yeah,
still
but
important.
it's still something.
Yeah.
And so I think
But you know what in a way that sounds hard to believe because ADHD is when you can't focus on things, but you seem like it sounds like you do focus on. You did, and
Well,
because of it, it's where you're at now.
a lot of times with ADHD,
You're at now. Where you're at now.
you have to slow things down and you have to learn how to do that.
I see.
And a lot of times it does come with medication. And I think, there's so many stigmas around these quote unquote labels or diagnoses because people inherently feel different. They inherently feel like I'm not normal. And
Don't I know it?
yeah, and the reality is so many other people out there are suffering with a lot of the same things. Like I suffer from depression. Depression runs in my family. And again, there's stigmas around that. And especially people that don't necessarily have the same diagnosis, they might not necessarily understand. And here's the thing, what we're diagnosed with and is not our fault. Like we were literally, in most cases, born that way.
Right.
But it becomes our responsibility to learn how to manage it. So we
Exactly.
can navigate life, so we can communicate effectively, and so how we can learn to navigate in the world.
Yeah, that's exactly right. Okay. So that having been said, give me like the timeline of from when you started going to the gym to when you decided you could be a personal trainer, which I guess you are now.
Ooh, that's a big timeline.
Well, okay. And then in the meantime, give me things. Give me events and certain opportunities that occurred
That have come up.
in between that got you where
So
you're
I
at.
think the biggest thing to kind of touch upon, because it literally set the rest of things in motion, was when I was in high school, I went to a trade school.
Okay.
I started late. I started about midway through the year. And the reason this matters is you had to pick a trade in high school.
Right.
As a young teenager trying to figure out, again, with no guidance, what to do with the rest of your life wasn't an easy decision,
Right.
So at the time, I don't know why I chose accounting. I don't know why I chose accounting. I just felt like it was a reputable career. You could make money in it. People are always going to need
I didn't
accountants.
realize you could do that in a high school trade school. I thought it was usually stuff that was industrial arts.
So for the most part, a lot of them actually have communications majors and
Okay.
graphic design majors. So they kind of have broadened out a little bit because they understand that there's other industries that young adults want to work in
Right.
that they don't necessarily need to go to college for if they
Okay.
get the right education and tools.
Okay. All right. So you picked accounting and you became a CPA, right?
I did. So
And how long ago was this?
this was, I want to say, back in 2004, 2005.
So about a little over 15 years ago.
Yep, and
About
I did graduate with an MBA from Lowell.
UMass Lowell.
Yep.
Okay.
And so I went through all of the steps that I needed to become this person that I didn't even know why, or the deeper underlying reasons why I really even wanted to be that.
Well, I always say everything happens for a reason, and somehow, my theory is that you have sort of an affinity for numbers, and you don't even realize it. Obviously, when it comes to like modeling or working out, you want to have there are numbers that affect all of that because there are numbers that affect the size of your arms, your biceps, your waistline.
Absolutely. I mean, when you think about training and you think
Yeah, and
about
the weight
PRs.
that you use, it's all about
Yep,
numbers.
Exactly.
Yeah, okay. I figured there's a connection somewhere. Maybe subliminal, nevertheless.
Maybe, yeah.
Yeah.
And I think no matter what path you take, every single milestone pertains to what comes next. Every decision you make along the way eventually gets you to a place where you're like, wow, where did this opportunity come from? It was the result of multiple decisions that led me here. And a big part of that, so going back to the accounting career, I was in accounting for 9 years. Over the span of those 9 years,
Did you work for a firm?
I did. So I worked for a CPA firm. That was my first job out of college.
Wow.
I worked there for about 3 years, and I was working 80-hour weeks.
Wow.
I was burnt out.
Especially during the tax season.
Oh, yeah. And the thing is, the funny thing about accounting is There really is no such thing as a tax season for us. Well, I should say for when I
Well,
was
it's
on.
interesting because I've heard that it slows down after April 15th, but I guess in your case it did
It's
not.
a vicious lie that they want you to believe.
But at the same time, you must be making pretty good money though.
I was. So that was the one biggest thing that came out of accounting. The money was great, the benefits were great, and I made some great relationships. Like
Awesome.
a couple of my bosses along the way were great mentors, specifically at the last job that I was at. So the last job I worked at was at Hill Holiday. My boss was amazing, such an amazing guy.
Is that a Boston firm?
Yes.
Okay.
Yep. And so I was there for 2 years, and I remember thinking, wow, like I've been doing this for 9 years, and I hate it. Like
Why did you hate it?
I was bored. I wasn't
worked too hard.
engaged.
Yeah.
I didn't have passion for it. I would wake up feeling like, what's my purpose in life? Like I literally questioned
Well, let me ask
that
you this:
almost
you
every
still able
day.
to coordinate your physical fitness with your work?
Well, see, that's the funny thing. I started to really go on this roller coaster ride, and part of it was because in life we have so many different competing priorities,
Right.
and that's constant, right? There's always going to be time for your relationships, time for your career, time for your children if you have them, so
Right.
on and so forth.
Fortunately, you don't. So
I don't, no.
Right.
But so going back to that career, I started working so much that my fitness started to fall by the wayside again.
yeah, that
so-
you can't have happen.
No.
Right.
That led me to join Weight Watchers at Work, which was effective because the community support really helped me. But it's still, the job itself, I don't know, like I dreaded it. It was pretty bad.
Wow. And you were there, still hung on it for 9 years.
Yep.
Wow.
And so I
Well,
remember-
you just mentioned that you had some pretty good perks though, including the pay, including the people that you worked with. But it's just, it's just that the overall drag on you was too much, and then eventually you took a different course.
I think that's exactly the point, in the sense that if all of those variables weren't in play, meaning I loved working for my boss.
Okay.
I had a great staff. I worked for a great company. They were reputable, they were efficient, there was a ton of growth opportunity there, and I still wasn't happy. So that's how I kind of knew if I'm still not happy and all of these other variables are connected, what's missing?
Okay. So
And a lot of that was something missing in me too.
Now tell me what was missing. And how'd you deal with it?
Good questions.
Thank
so one of the things that was missing was a strong sense of self-worth
Okay.
and a strong sense of identity.
Okay.
Who am I? What do I stand for?
Right.
And that was the big integral piece that was missing, because I had never really questioned those things before.
Okay.
And I think especially in today's society, in today's world, like people have identity issues for days because we're told that we have to be a certain way from a young age. We're told who we have to be. We're
I know.
told,
Society is murder like that, isn't
yep,
it?
we're told the careers that we're supposed to have. And so like we become brainwashed, for lack of a better phrase, or conditioned to believe these things, and then we try to make it fit to who we are.
Okay.
Versus knowing who you are and then going for that. Think about like the little kid who, tells mom that he or she wants to be an astronaut, and the mom just looks at the child, or the father looks at the child, and they're like, "You're crazy! Like, that's not a realistic career."
That's the way children think, though. I mean,
But think about it like this: what if that child truly was meant to be an astronaut?
well, then that child will become an astronaut someday.
One would hope. And so the thing is, I love when things do work out that way. And sometimes, unfortunately, because of the way the world works and operates, it doesn't always work out that way for different reasons. But a lot of it comes down to the children don't necessarily have the support and guidance they need at an early age to make these type of decisions for themselves later on.
And you didn't as well.
I did not.
But now going forward, what did you do after you left? What is the name of it? Hill Holiday?
Hill Holiday.
Okay. So what did you do after you left there, and what did you do? That's when you became a personal trainer?
I did. So,
Okay.
well, actually, I'll take it a step back. I had a conversation with my boss, and
Okay.
it was a very candid conversation. I basically told him everything I'm telling you now, that I wasn't happy. It had nothing to do with him or the company, and that I just felt like my passion was elsewhere. And so I had told him I was going to start studying to become a certified personal trainer. And I was wondering at that point if he would be willing to reduce my hours, allow me to work part-time as I pursued this other dream. And he was all for it. Like,
Okay.
that's how supportive of a guy he was, you know?
That's great.
And so anyway, I did that. I went part-time. I started working the other part-time at the YMCA.
Okay.
I had a great mentor there, really started building up my client base. I finally passed the certified personal trainer exam. And then at that point, I'm like, what am I waiting for? I
That was
passed the
it?
exam. I have a job in the field. Let's go for it.
You politely dismissed yourself from Hill Holiday and became a full-time personal
I
trainer.
did. And then I struggled for a long time.
Okay. Well, all right. What's the timeline here? How long ago was this?
This was about 6 years ago now, going on 7.
Okay, so the early 20 teens, I guess.
Yes.
So then how did it materialize to where you're at, to get you where you're at today?
Well, basically, I struggled a little bit at the YMCA for a while, and it was because my client base wasn't building up at a pace.
No, quick question about the YMCA. As a person working at the Y, were you able to create your own client base for yourself?
Yes.
Or did you have to kick into the Y, whatever it
Nope,
was?
you were able to create your own client base. A lot of it was like basically floor hours, trying to build up rapport with clients and getting to a point where then you can convert them into a client. The thing at the Y was I was a green trainer. It was very, very competitive in the sense that all of us trainers were just kind of vying for the same clients and not necessarily working together as a team because we were just all individual trainers working in the same place.
Okay. All right. So then, are you still at the Y now?
No.
Then now you're an independent trainer working for yourself somewhere on your own.
Yep.
Okay. And then going along with that, you had some other things come up that were pretty awesome. So talk about those now. Going
Absolutely.
forward to close to the present day.
Yep, so closest to the present day, I've done a couple of different bikini competitions. Most of them are through the WBFF Federation.
That was recently, the last couple of years?
Yeah, so the first one was 2016, the second one was 2019.
4 years ago. Okay, wow.
2019 was the last one. And then obviously because of COVID, 2020 didn't happen,
Right,
so I'm
exactly.
planning for 2021.
Yep.
As a result, I've done photo shoots, and so now it's kind of like developing this whole new path that I never even dreamed of.
Isn't that beautiful?
It's crazy how it happens.
It is.
And that's why I go back to one decision sort of morphs and like transforms into something even bigger. But as a result of that, I did a couple of photo shoots. One of my photos actually got selected to be in Status magazine, so that was my first magazine debut. In present day, I'm in the running to be on the cover of Muscle and Fitness Hers.
Wow.
And this is a much bigger competition, definitely more competitive. And it's the cover. So it's super exciting.
Win-win-win.
Yeah.
All right. Great.
Yep,
Okay,
so we
great.
got one more month to go in the competition. After that, they're going to announce the winner.
Are you going to be able to do it with a virus, or are they going to do it like spaced out like we're doing here?
It's probably going to be spaced out for sure.
Yeah.
The shoot itself, the dates are TBD, and obviously I'm getting ahead of myself because I haven't won yet.
No, I understand.
But just to be in this position is such an amazing feeling. Like it's such an amazing accomplishment, and
of course.
What comes
you must
with
You must be so proud of yourself, and I'm proud of you too.
Thank you.
Well, tell me about the bikini competitions. Where were they shot?
So the two that I've done were both at Mohegan Sun.
Oh, okay.
Really, really big venue.
I figured they were on the beach because that's where most people think bikini and beach. But evidently, still, you probably had more people at the Mohegan Sun than you. Well, depending on what beach. But let's say you were shooting the Sports Illustrated swimsuit issue, then you'd be on the beach.
Then you'd be on the beach.
Right,
Absolutely.
but maybe that lies ahead for you. You never know.
You never know.
Okay, but that's great though, Mohegan Sun.
And it's such a well done show. Like the lighting is amazing.
Yep.
The sounds are amazing. There's hundreds of people there. Everybody's like into it. So it's such a cool experience.
Well, that is so cool. That is awesome. All right. Well, and that having been said, so where was your other one? You said you had a couple.
Both were at Mohegan.
They were both Mohegan Sun. Now, do you have like an agent now that's getting you these gigs, or are you just doing it yourself?
I actually don't. All of this has sort of developed organically. Like the competition that I'm in now to be on the cover of Muscle and Fitness Hers, one of my girlfriends told me about it, sent me the link, and they were like, you should do this. Why not?
I know, I agree.
So I submitted my bio. With the bio, you had to submit a couple of shots of yourself, and I did. I got picked to be in it. And since then, I've been moving ahead every round, and I am like so beyond grateful for the support of all my clients, my family, my friends, because they're the ones who are voting for me to be on the cover.
Wow.
And they have to basically keep up and vote every single day, and the person at the end with the most votes
I'll
is
vote
the
for
one
you
who's gonna win.
if I know how.
Oh yeah, easy to do.
Okay.
It takes 3 seconds
you
on
doing
Facebook.
on Facebook?
Yep.
Beautiful.
Yep, 3 clicks, boom, done.
Done. Okay. And I imagine. Okay. Well, guess what? You know what? We're down to the final 5 minutes of the show.
Oh wow.
Yeah, I know.
That went so fast.
Well, I know it always does. We always have fun at topic time. So, quick question before we do the wrap up part of the show. Going forward, what does like the next several years look like for you as far as looking, like if you were to project yourself into the next half decade or so? What do you think? Or even
I would
further?
definitely say, as an independent trainer, is broadening my reach. You know, like right now, brick and mortar doesn't necessarily make sense because of COVID, but I've
Right.
helped so many people virtually. I've helped so many people via phone call. Right now, I'm sort of in the process of customizing meal plans and workout plans for my clients, but going even further, I would really like to develop something that's specifically geared towards strength training for teens.
Oh, great.
teens that are-
Male and female?
Male and female,
Great.
definitely. And probably have like co-ed coaches as well, because sometimes, you know.
Working
the
for you?
Yep. Sometimes the males work better with the males, females work better with females. But just for them to have a safe space as an outlet to use strength training as a way to deal with some of the emotional stuff they might be going through, because
Okay.
it really does help.
That's awesome. That is so cool. And what about, have you, now one last suggestion, and if you haven't done it, you may have done it anyway. How about creating like a personal training video that you can sell online?
Absolutely.
Have you done that?
I've started to.
You started
It's
to. So
in
you
the
got,
works. Yep.
Okay, so we're on the same page.
Yep.
All right, so here's what I want you to do in the next couple of minutes. Just give shouts out to the people, condense them, that they're going to see the show, and then we'll wrap it up like we began it.
All right, definitely a shout out to my roommate, Jeff. He's helped me a lot to get to this point. Definitely a shout out to my sister. And I'm just gonna broaden this one because I will miss some people and I don't wanna do that. All my family, all my clients, all my friends that have supported me up until this point, thank you, thank you, thank you. I am so grateful for each and every one of you.
Well, I hope you had fun with me tonight.
I absolutely did, it was a great time.
And what I ask everybody to do that I interview, you know, most of my guests, 98% of them come through Facebook, but 2% come through word of mouth from people that I've had on. That, you know, other people might see the show and they want to do it too. But what I'm going to ask you to do is the people that you know that are in fitness or whatever, or any have you ever, just a quick question, you've never done any acting or music or anything?
I have done acting, but I've always been an extra.
Okay, well that might change now too. If you,
Yeah.
you know, what about music? You ever do music?
No music,
No
but
music.
I do enjoy
Okay, but
acting.
you probably
It's
can
fun.
dance well if you have to train. You know,
I
it's
can.
good aerobic stuff.
Oh, yeah.
So again, what I'm going to ask you to do is to pass the word about a topic time to people that might want to do the show, and give them my digits, and maybe we can we can make something happen with that.
Absolutely.
Okay, well, great job, Sheena. You're an amazing guest. You're really cool, and I love your tattoos.
Thank you, I appreciate it.
And we're going to wrap the show up. Are you ready?
I'm ready.
Okay, folks. Thanks for watching Topic Time. More great episodes to follow. See you next time. Take care. You got rhythm. Says you don't have music.